listening to Frank Skinner's podcast from Absolute Radio.
This, however, not quite so perfect. It's Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can text the show on 8 12 15. Please do. Follow the show on Twitter at Frank on the Radio. Email the show via the Absolute Radio website, if you will.
I was only saying what a good start that was, and then you said, oh, not quite so perfect.
Well, you know, it's nothing's 100% in life. I remember reading that in Niall Quinn's autobiography.
Right, yeah. Well,
that's where I love some of your mentors.
I get a lot of my philosophy from football autobiographies. And, of course, my top 11s of all time. It's usually about chapter 12, I find.
I get them directly from the footballers, but that's chapter 7.
Yes. That'll be chapter 7 in your autobiography, I should think. What is... just for a bit of revision, what's the greatest name for any football autobiography?
Oh...
I think it was Alan Ball's It's All About a Ball.
Oh, very good.
I mean, come on!
That is good.
The greatest ever title for a cricket autobiography.
Oh,
This has come up on the show before.
Has it?
Ian Botham's.
Yes.
Oh, yes, Don't Tell Kath.
Yes.
Yeah.
A title that you could have used.
Yes. You can't tell Kath anything, in my experience. But, yeah, that's very fine. What about... I'm going to go through them all now. Neville Southall, former Everton goalkeeper, the Bin Man Chronicles. Because he used to be a bin man.
No, I'd kind of figured that out.
Yeah. I mean, it's no pun, but I like it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just say what it is. Paul Merson, rock bottom.
Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
What about when Paul Merson first started having his... I mean, it's obviously there's nothing funny about drink problems. Actually, I've been getting laughs out of him for years, come to think of it.
Bought you quite a few houses.
But when he did a press conference to say that he'd become an alcoholic...
such a shame.
Respect to Paul, he's a great player. He said, I can't go to the pub or the betting office anymore. He said, it's like if you go to the hairdressers every day, eventually you're going to have a haircut. I said, but nobody does that, do they? They don't go to the hairdressers every day and think, lads, see, I want to give in. Have you got your plastic portfolio of hairstyles? I can have a look at? Oh, anyway, I don't know how we got onto that, but I enjoyed it.
Oh, I loved it.
I'm enjoying it.
It's gone.
Oh, you're speaking about it in the present.
You seem very itchy, Frank. Are you okay?
I am a bit.
What's happened?
I am a little bit itchy.
I don't like to mention it every week.
Have you got new threads on or something?
I've got new threads on. I haven't done that thing of washing them before I put them on, so I think I'm getting... There could be labels for all I know.
Oh, and those little plastic toggle things.
Oh, do you know, I was out last night and one got tangled up in my necklace.
What, a little plastic toggle thing?
Yeah.
Oh.
They're a real scourge, those things.
Yeah.
It's I mean, how many times has someone sitting in a sweatshop in Central America been responsible for me being itchy? 8, 12, 15. Because they put stickers on to say, like, another
one I'm saving for the book.
Marianne okayed this and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You with me?
Yeah, and sometimes a little dot.
Frank,
yeah, I am a little bit itchy, you're right.
Can I just say something?
Say anything. No, don't say anything.
Someone has graffitied on the side of this Absolute Radio studio desk.
There's quite a bit.
In Sharpie, it says, I was here.
It's great that people... Is it spelled W-U-Z?
Yes, of course it is.
Oh, wow. What
I mean, what sort of an animal working here has done that? It's not the OC, is it?
I think there's been... I tell you what, signs of a party. There was about 6... broken pens on the floor.
Oh, no.
When I came, what kind of a party was that?
Michael Parkinson was here with his friends all night, Frank.
Is it Bill Tidy's leaving party?
Who's Bill Tidy?
Who's Bill Tidy? 8, 12, 15. No, I'll tell you. He's a very famous cartoonist.
Oh, I see.
He used to do a popular daytime TV show called Quick on the Draw, in which people had to do cartoons as sort of answers to questions.
I mean, I was here. It might be a celebrity, Frank. It says AP. The initials are AP. So
Alan Parker, the film director, possibly.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, guess who that is? Yeah, Alan Partridge, Steve Coogan in character.
It could be, yeah. Who else could
a person. This is a bit like playing I Spy with a kid now, isn't it? A person.
There could be someone just who doesn't want to give their real name, so just put AP for a person. I mean, I personally would have written our person.
Yeah.
I mean, the level of secrecy of reducing a person to the initials.
Yeah.
Now there is a lot of it's been trashed. That's what's happened.
In quite a gentle way. I mean,
Is there graffiti on your end?
Yes, there is, but I can't really describe it in full detail. But
It's not that.
Let's put it. I had one exactly the same on my Roth book in 1969.
The Frank Skinner Show. Listen live every Saturday morning from 8 on Absolute Radio.
Someone solved the AP conundrum.
Oh yeah.
You know, I had graffiti. I was here. Brackets, AP, close brackets. I thought it was Andy Peters. Apparently not. 657. Could it be Annabelle Port, who obviously works on Jeff Lloyd's show?
Yeah, it's a good shout.
I think he's just chosen that randomly because there's a storm where he's phoning from.
Oh, lovely.
A port in a storm.
Yeah,
Or would it be Anna? Anna Port in a storm.
Oh, yeah. Very close to N. I see what you've done there.
Yeah, it was hard work. It's hurt my shoulders a bit, but I'll be all right in a minute. I did a very nostalgic thing this week I'd like to share with you.
Oh, okay.
Because, as my son often says to me, sharing is caring.
Does he? That's nice.
And this is, yes, I wish I'd told that barmaid that in Wigan. I had 6 weeks on antibiotics.
Oh.
Anyway, I went. I tell you what I did. What about this for a walk down memory lane? I cashed some traveller's check.
You didn't. You didn't.
Who knew?
That is
Who
brilliant.
knew they still existed?
Where do you cash the things?
Where do you find them?
Do you go to a
Brilliant.
bureau de change?
I didn't go to a bureau de
Post office?
change.
Why? Can I ask a question about bureau de change?
Yes.
I mean, why do you not care about the business enough to invest in a proper office space? Why is it always a glass cubicle on the wrong end, frankly, of a main thoroughfare?
I always think
Why
that
cubicle? Why not office?
they sort of pioneered the open plan thing, which is very popular in modern offices.
They fear a door, the bureau de change.
Yeah, they don't like the sense of a door. I
No.
think.
No.
Because they're all about breaking boundaries down.
Is
So-
it not a security issue? Do they fear doors because back in the day that was a shop that had a lot of cash knocking around?
Oh, I see.
Isn't that a good reason to be extremely pro
I think
doors?
they'd be pro door. Pro
Yeah.
I
thick
mean, why
door.
would you want to display it all?
Maybe.
In the bureau de change, I always remember the ladies wearing a pussy bow blouse.
Oh,
Tie at the neck.
nice.
You see, I think maybe it's, the theory that if one of the great anti-burglary things is not all locking your house up, but just keeping your house very exposed so that burglars will be seen getting in.
All right.
So maybe the Bureau de Change have taken the same. The thing is just leave. So the money
Highly
you can
visible.
actually. It's like Dragon's Den. They just got the money piled up in there on the desk. And that makes it less likely. I don't know.
So-
Does anyone here who works in a B2C?
B2C, which has never been called.
That's what they've written on the desk here. I need a B2C. Let us know what the theory is between the open plan aura.
So you didn't go to a B2C.
I
You
didn't.
went to a...
Well, first of all, I went to
Here you are.
America with
Well, that was a
them.
long way to go.
Yes, and I thought I'll be able to cash them at one of the nice
Hang
hotels.
on, you took traveller's checks to America.
Why did you take
when you
traveller's
went-
check?
That's what you're supposed to do with traveller's checks.
1973.
Yeah, but why else would you don't have to buy traveller's checks and then use them in your own country?
Don't
The
buy
clue is
traveller's
in
checks.
the title.
Yeah, that. I think Emily's onto something here. You specifically went and got traveller's
No.
checks for your
Okay.
recent
Now,
trip to
here's
America.
what happened.
Okay.
I
We
found
need
the
to get
small.
forensic.
I found the small envelope in one of my drawers,
He hates waste.
which contained a $220 worth of traveller's checks, and I thought
Ka-ching.
I'm off to America soon.
You can get a bottle of water at that.
The
on
timing could
EasyJet.
not have been better.
Perfect.
So I asked at the Econo Lodge,
I love that you stayed there.
and the man said, I can't do the accent because he was actually an Indian man.
Okay.
And so
Let's
he
make him
said,
American in this story.
We didn't need to know that. You could have got away without saying
well, that's
that.
the thing about
You could have
Indian
just said, don't do the accent.
Indian people in America. I don't know if you've ever met any Indian people in America, or if you've ever watched Big Bang Theory. as the Indian people in America do not absorb in any way the American accent. They just talk like Indian people. It's great. They've this far and no further.
Yeah.
I think they're holding a grudge, got mixed up with the cowboys and Indians things. It wasn't even them. But anyway, so you took the traveller's checks. He wouldn't. Peter Patel, his name was. So he actually wasn't. He's probably Pakistani. Come to think of it. But anyway, let's not get into minutiae.
Okay.
So he wouldn't. He said we don't change them.
Right.
And so then I went to a much nicer hotel.
It was almost like it was dawning on you that they were quite an outmoded form of currency exchange.
Exactly. I did. And then I went to the Paramount Hotel in New York, which at least used to be a nicer hotel.
Oh, lovely. Small bedrooms, though, Frank?
I'll be honest with you, it's gone off terribly.
And the rooms are so small.
But anyway, so I thought there was a concierge. So I thought, well, I'm not going to a bureau de change, but I'll certainly go to a concierge. I nearly wore a negligee, but I decided a guinea. So I went up and I said, I've got some traveller's checks. And the guy went, "Hey, Sue, come here." And he called her over to have a look at my traveller's checks. And she went,
I've heard some euphemisms.
"Traveller's checks?" They were like... And then another member of staff came over and laughed out loud. And after all this, they said, "No, we don't do them." So I took them. I basically took them to America for a little holiday. I never used any of them. I just carried them around and then brought them back. Which, I mean, I know it's travel, but it's not what they were meant for.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So, have we heard from the outside world at all?
A little, yes.
Un petit.
It's regarding traveller's checks, Frank.
Oh, well, I'm keen to hear about that.
Which I know, much like Justin Timberlake brought sexy back, you're bringing traveller's checks back.
Yeah.
He says, I say he, this is 224. His name is Scott. He says, "Frank, I'm with you on the traveller's checks. Always take them to Vegas and never have any issue cashing them. Safe and secure. It's the future, not the past."
Okay.
And then he signs off Scott sat in Kilburn.
Sat in Kilburn?
Yeah.
Sat space. He's not satin.
No,
not
it's not satin.
Scott
It's not a
no.
double-barrel
Wearing a
name.
waistcoat.
Hi, Scott sat in Kilburn.
I was thinking he could be called Scott Satin. He could be like a sort of a rock singer.
Scott Satin,
And he's in
Kilburn. He's actually seated in Kilburn, but he likes to go to Vegas. So the idea of him being called Scott Satin...
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, it's such a journey.
I met a bloke in America previously called Jimmy Velvet.
Did you?
So Scott Satin would work.
Oh, I love a fabric-based surname.
Yeah.
Nick has also sent us a message.
The Silk family was big at West Bromwich Albion, the boardroom.
There's a lot of tweeds and tweedies
the
around.
Silk family.
Yeah, so... Fabric-based surnames. 812. No, please don't send any. Billy Cotton.
Nick has sent us...
No, don't. I don't want to know any.
Nick has sent us an email that seems to be some kind of haiku based on...
lovely.
Confusion.
Confucius.
It's titled Frank Like Confusion. At Stansted I get breakfast, I then get a coffee. You want a banana with that? I am asked. I calmly reply, I don't understand. He motions to the side where I can read free banana with every coffee. I nod my head and take my free banana. That's what he's emailed.
It's beautiful.
If you've got a haiku for us today,
or in that case a low-ku,
then don't send it in.
well, I'd rather you set that ahead of your fabric-based surnames. if you would be so kind. To be honest with you, on the nostalgia traveller's checks, it's the first time I've been in a post office for ages, and that really took me back.
Yeah, they've.
Did you have the
online,
cashier number 4, please?
Yes.
Oh, I like that.
Well,
and my mother, who was an actress, always used to say, when they'd say cashier number 4, please, she went, "Sorry, darling, I'm on."
Brilliant. Did she get a 2-minute call?
And an encore.
No, well, I was I queued at the it's called holiday section or something like that in the post office.
Oh.
I don't know that.
Yeah. And there was a woman there. And so I looked at the number on the screen. It said 77. I thought, okay. So I took my ticket out of the machine. It said 209. I thought, hold on a minute. what do people they get it, and then they say, I'm just going to go for a swim. I'll come back with my numbers.
Yeah.
So it turns out there's a separate number system on the travel section.
Oh.
In the travel section, do they have a little? I hope anyway. They have a little tableau arranged, maybe with a little parasol and a towel there.
No, she sat in a deck chair. The woman.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Scott's been back in touch.
Remember Scott Satin?
Yeah, he says, Frank and the gang, thanks for my new nickname, Scott Satin, brackets, waiting around in Kilburn to avoid any confusion. So
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad we've spent some nights with Scott Satin. Nights with Scott Satin. Never in the end. Yes. It's a good name, though.
It doesn't surprise me that the travellers' cheques were accepted over there, though.
At the post office? Well, because the
Vegas.
post office is based in the 1970s. That's why it was all right to go in there.
I meant in Vegas, but I also agree that the post office, that doesn't surprise me.
No, it was... well, it did surprise me. I'd almost given up that I'd ever be able to get them cashed. It was either... If they hadn't accepted them, I'd have gone straight to the framing shop.
How did the encounter go, then? Did you
The encounter at the counter?
Yes. In the woman in the deck chair?
It was actually... I thought the way to play it is to pretend it's not a problem.
Yeah.
To pretend that I'm cashing travellers' cheques maybe 2-3 times a week.
Uh-huh.
So I went in, I said, I've got a few travellers... what have you got balloons up? I said. So I thought, that thing sort
distract them
misdirection
with...
like a magician. What you got balloons up for? She said, we're advertising a new thing for travel. It's a new card where you.
I thought she was going to say it's a new form of cheque.
No. She said it's a new credit card that you can use abroad. As you can use it in 7 different countries.
You could have done with that.
And
I thought, isn't that a credit card?
I thought this. It except that you allot travel money to it. So if it's stolen, they can't take anything from it.
Good idea.
Yeah. Well, I thought that. I thought this is just the sort of idea that might have superseded the traveller's cheque. So I said, yeah, well, never mind about that. I've got a few. Oh, it's nice, isn't it, today? Sunny. It's some traveller's cheques. Sunny, isn't it? Really sunny. Anyway, I thought, just make it like it's normal.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Just act normal.
I know,
weirdly, that's the least normal you've ever acted.
Weirdest you've ever been.
Yeah. Bear in mind, I got more laughs with travellers' cheques in New York than I got a whole night at the Brits. So I was expecting the worst. Anyway, she just said, "Oh yeah, okay." But
did she say, "Oh yeah, I'll do that"? Hang on a minute, what the?
Yeah. She suddenly played the tune from Last of the Summer Wine and said, "Are we back in the?" No, she didn't. I think I made. You know what? I made it normal. And
it sounds like you made it extremely weird.
No, I made it normal. Making it normal, it stood me in good stead over the years in hotel rooms all over Britain. Just make it normal. Anyway, so she gave me my money. It's like £147 and some change. I left there feeling like the man who broke the bank in Monte Carlo. Honestly,
fantastic.
I had a real spring in my step.
Yeah, that was just in a drawer. That's like free money to you.
Oh, I mean, I was absolutely thrilled. And I did, I must admit, I probably walked a little bit faster than I normally walk. Because I was like, excuse me. And then a woman saying, I nearly fell for that. Give me that money back. But no, it's okay. They still exist. If you got any travellers' cheques at home, you can have a look during this.
You're listening to Frank Skinner's podcast from Absolute Radio.
Have we anything from the outside world?
Well, we will. We'll get onto that in a minute, but I've got something I'd like to ask you.
Okay.
Because I saw you on the night.
Hold it. Ask away.
Oh, Ask Away with Frank Skinner, brand new series.
That could be all right, couldn't it? Be like, they have people, basically people asking me stuff, I'm guessing.
Ask Away.
That's the format that's just...
Bit of a football nod as well, because Frank loves his football. He loves his soccer.
Unless it's me rejecting pizza. Anyway.
Yes, I saw you on the Nightly Show this week.
Yes.
I was very excited, Frank.
I was
So
gutted.
did I, actually.
Did you?
Gutted.
Alan saw a telly programme.
I was gutted. See, I arrived fully expecting it to be hosted by Keira Knightley. I thought that's what it was all about.
That would have been great. That would have been a great
Nightly.
booking.
Turned out it was Ramsey.
Yeah, Alf Ramsey.
Now, the Nightly Show is something that I've missed out on because I was away toting my traveller's checks around North America.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you were busy.
So I missed the first 2 weeks of it.
There was Davina, David Williams, and...
John Bishop, I
Yes,
think.
John Bishop.
Yeah, so people were talking to me about it. They weren't always praising, I'll be honest with you.
I think it was the butt of some jokes on Comic Relief as well.
It's difficult starting these things off,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Anyway, so the first time I saw it, I was in it.
Yeah.
That was my... so it's too late then to think, you know what, it's not... No, but I had a lovely time on it. But on the way, can you believe this? Now, when you do a TV show, as you'll both know... They send you a car to pick you up and take you to the studio, which is fair enough, paid for by the TV production.
I'm not saying it's the only reason, but it's a hugely motivating factor.
It's lovely. So I got in the car, and it's filmed at a theatre in called the Cochrane, funnily enough.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So I was chatting to the driver generally about life, and he said, we're going to the Cochrane Theatre. And then when he got there, he saw the big sign outside. He said, you doing the Nightly Show? I said, yeah. He said, oh, do you? I said, he said, have you seen the reviews? I said, mate, did you not hear it? I'm going to do it now. He said, yeah. He said, often he says, oh, no. He said, I don't like it. I said, mate, let me say that again. I'm just about to do it. I said, giving me a lot of negative vibes. I think that was true.
Honestly, of all the people that I expected to ever use the phrase negative vibes, you would have been lowest as
Well,
What would your father say?
I'm happy with... I've been using...
Did you put your
I've been
hand in your
using
pocket,
can I
grab some
say?
salt and throw it in his face?
I think I've been using the phrase negative vibes for 40 years.
Have you?
I think it's in Kelly's Heroes, the Clint
Okay.
Eastwood
Well,
film.
I use the phrase, which is slightly more, scented candles. I use the phrase negative energy.
Oh, okay.
I said to
that.
someone only this week, I'm getting a lot of negative energy from you.
Oh.
Also, I don't like the idea that a driver is making a qualitative judgment on the programmes that he's delivering people to.
And who's he being paid by? The programme.
If you only drop people off to TV shows that you like, you'll probably do about 3 journeys a year, wouldn't
Yeah,
you?
well, with this driver, I don't want to be doing Babe Watch every week.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've had a text in about you pretending that cashing in travellers' checks is completely normal.
Okay.
I often embellish the truth to cashiers when I'm embarrassed at what I'm buying. E.g., should I clear my throat? Do you think it needs it? That's not in the text.
Oh, I
This
thought
is-
I was going to say it's so hard to tell remotely.
There we go. It's just
Okay.
Emily told me off a few weeks ago when I
I?
hadn't cleared my throat. She went, "Could you clear that? It's really awful."
It sounded
Oh,
fine.
it's done with
Sound.
love.
Yeah. Anyway, e.g., when I'm buying too much Greggs, I often use lines such as "I'm on the lunch run," or I think they wanted iced donuts.
Oh, I think they wanted the iced donuts.
Oh, yeah.
I've even pretended to be on the phone while I take orders from my inverted commas colleagues, even though my lunch run, or I think, oh God, it's repeating itself. This, even though
I work alone, he says.
Even though I work alone.
And interestingly, he says, do I need help? But he says from MASH. He's even got a food-based name.
Oh, it's nominative determinism, isn't
Yeah.
it?
But
No
when
wonder
I
he's food obsessed.
buy a toilet roll, I'm
Oh.
still self-conscious about that. I always say something like, I'm just going to a football match.
What?
Do they still do that?
When people throw
I know
toilet...
what they do that, but just buy the toilet roll. Everyone does it.
No,
Yeah.
and if I buy a toilet roll, I have to buy 4 or 5 other things, even if I just want a toilet roll. If you walk in and buy a toilet roll, people think, well, I hope you get out the shop before... if he's at that point where he's had to come out and just buy a toilet roll. Especially that time I went in, I had my trousers and pants still around my ankles.
Oh no.
Wow.
You got a toilet roll, please?
I'll tell you what I think.
Can't reach my change. Sorry.
If
My
I
shawl.
see
I'm
anyone,
sorry, my shawl.
my shawl, your bureau. If I see anyone in an off licence making a big song and dance about a wine that we're buying, or I'm taking one to a dinner party, or giving any sort of story, I think you're going home to drink that alone.
Yeah, well, I've done that.
I'm sorry.
I remember a woman smelling whiskey on my breath at 8:30 at a bus stop in the morning.
Yeah.
She said, "Hold on, you've been drinking whiskey?" And I said, I nipped in a mate's on the way in. He said, why don't you have a whiskey? And I'd just been polite. She looked at me. She said,
No excuse.
No, you didn't. I was just a complete stranger. She said, no, you didn't. And then stopped talking to me.
Someone else has also been saying negative vibes for about 40 years. And I swear I got it from Donald Sutherland in Kelly's Heroes.
Because he is he's a tank driver, but he plays music.
Yeah.
And every time somebody says something about the war being bad or something, he says, don't give me negative vibes.
Well,
that's exactly
guess what Treble A then goes on to say, Alan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Do you want me to be the bearer of the news? He says, but I watched it a few years back, and the phrase she actually uses is always with the negative waves.
So he doesn't say negative vibes?
Apparently.
We've had that from a couple of different sources. Ian Stewart Dootson has texted, "Hi, Frallum." I think that's Frank Allen.
Oh, that's good.
I feel ironically, it's caused very negative waves, this information.
Sorry to be partly pedantic, but it's actually negative waves, Moriarty. Don't give me negative waves, that Donald Sutherland says in Kelly's Heroes.
Is it? And I've been saying, what a fool I have made of myself.
Decades worth of foolishness that you're flashing back to now.
I think you've done worse, Frank. That was not the worst thing you've ever done.
I know, but it's terrible when you go back and see something and think, I've always remembered it like this, and in fact it was like that, because then you got to question all the other things you remember.
Yeah.
It's gone a bit existential now, hasn't it?
Oh, it is. But let's just take some time out to think what we might have misremembered. Perhaps I stormed it at the Brits.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can text us on 81215. About that. Yeah. Follow the show on Twitter at Frank on the Radio, or email the show via the Absolute Radio website. Don't you know?
I mean, we are getting texts, not just about negative waves. We're getting...
No, don't send me any negative waves.
111 has texted, whatever happened to Frank's Poetry News update?
Yes.
Remember that app?
Yeah.
Yes.
I downloaded the Poetry News update app and I never got any news at all about poetry.
It just stayed blank?
As if poetry had stopped.
Didn't you try and get your money back?
I got my money back.
Oh, good.
49p.
It's one of those...
I'm not throwing that away.
It's one of those consumer stories that's got a happy ending.
Yeah. Funny thing was, they sent me in traveller's check form. No, I was furious about that.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I mean, to use the words news and update, and then the thing never budges at all. It's wrong.
It's wrong. We should probably do statue news update, shouldn't we?
Oh, is that something we do regularly?
Well, we do it quite regularly, though.
Well, I think we covered if I were a sculptor, but then again, no.
Sudden change of heart, and so he decided to pursue a far more sensible career
of selling potions in a travelling show.
Well, many.
Of course, if you worked in a travelling show,
you know what you'd be able to use.
Oh, that'd be very handy, wouldn't it? The thing is, I didn't tell you, those traveller's checks, they were American Express traveller's checks.
Enough with the traveller's checks.
You'd think Americans would be up for having them.
Yeah, but did they have, Frank? I'm surprised they weren't Diners Club traveller's checks.
I know, but to be refused, for a man of my age, to be refused an American Express traveller's check, a man who grew up with the phrase, American Express, that'll do nicely.
Yeah.
For then to be rejected is a bitter blow indeed. Anyway, statue news.
Yes.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cristiano.
Yeah.
One of
I'm
the
just
world's...
doing my affectionate thing that I do for men on this show.
One of the
They
world's...
get given a girl's name, like Simone Cowell.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Lovely.
He's been committed to statue
I told you,
form.
speaking of Elton John, he told me that Robert De Niro got furious when him and David Furnish insisted on calling him Roberta.
Oh, really?
He didn't like it.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I know.
Do you think he kept saying, "Are you talking to me?"
I hope he did. I really hope he did. And when he does that, you couldn't get a bus ticket between his jaw and his chest.
Oh.
That's what I like about it.
Yeah.
Straight down here.
Oh.
Talking to me.
The triple ridge.
Talking to me. Oh, it's brilliant. Statue.
Cristiano Ronaldo has been he's been committed to statue form, and the internet and many viewers have said statue don't like it. They don't like
It's a
it.
bust, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it was unveiled because it's always
I couldn't introduce
statues
this
are
as
always unveiled as plans are.
I couldn't introduce it as bust news, could I?
Well,
Bust updates. I mean, that would be,
a bust update would have been a great thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, people do not like it, and I think Cristiano does. He thinks it's all right.
I've got to say,
He loves it.
I think it's all right as well.
I think
Do
it
you
looks
like
a bit
it?
like Cristiano Ronaldo in a circus mirror. That's
The thickness of the neck.
No, but that's why they've got it absolutely
calm down,
right.
dear, calm
no,
down,
he has got one of those very
necks.
thick neck. But there's what it looks. I tell you what, if I drew Cristiano Ronaldo on my fingernail, it would be an accurate representation of the size of his head compared to the thickness of his neck.
right.
He's got a very, very muscular, thick neck, and I think that's one of its strengths. The
I
statue.
don't think it's captured his good looks necessarily.
No.
He's got a neck which looks like it was designed for a much larger head,
Yes, yes.
and so is the statue.
It was made by Emmanuel Santos, who was a former cleaner at the airport. Where
Again,
the statue
that's
is.
great. He's only been a sculptor for 2 years.
Yeah.
But then again, no, because I heard it took him 15 days to make this, and Rodin spent 10 years making the kiss.
Oh,
Yeah.
A little fact for
Oh,
you
but
there.
there's 2 people in the kiss. That's gonna add
double
time.
bubble, double trouble.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
That would have
2
taken
people, isn't it?
Emmanuel Santos 30 days in that case.
But it is good, He lives in. I mean, in Rodin's time, you could take your time.
Why?
Nowadays, we live in the modern world. We need the Emmanuel Santos approach.
Yeah. This is from Mr. Traveller's Check over there.
I honestly think that sometimes in the paper you can put a caption on something, and it might be someone standing by a bus stop, and it says "sinister hanger about," and you think, "Oh yeah, that bloke does that." And if you'd seen it without the caption, you'd just think, "Oh, that's a bloke at a bus stop." And I think it's all right. 8, 12, 15. What's the worst statue you've ever seen?
The Frank Skinner Show. Listen live every Saturday morning from 8 on Absolute Radio.
Yes, Cristiano Ronaldo and his thick neck.
Yeah. Some people said, we were talking about Niall Quinn earlier, that it looked more like Niall Quinn.
Well, as you know, Niall Quinn is a great inspiration of mine. I must have told you the Niall Quinn's uncle story from his autobiography, have I?
I don't know.
About
He's had 3 mentions on this show. He can't believe his luck.
Niall Quinn's uncle lived alone, and he used to, when he got back, when you go back to when you go out drinking and you
Very
drink,
large bottom, like Niall Quinn.
but it's good for a striker.
Oh, it's great.
So anyway, his uncle used to drink a lot, and when you drink a lot, in the end you can't be bothered to sort out the correct change for a drink, so you end up just cashing notes, and you get home. I've woken up and couldn't lift my trousers from the floor. They had so much loose change in the pockets, and his uncle used to get back with the loose change, and he'd go into one of the rooms in his flat, and he'd throw the change onto the carpet, and then he had one golf club in there. And he used to, before he went to bed, he would drive the individual examples of change. He'd hit them until they stuck in the plaster of the wall. He said one of the walls was just a mass of loose change where it stuck in. And he told this story, and I remember the last sentence he sort of said, and as I say, he lived alone. But what a tremendous story. It's up there with Beowulf. That's it. It is sort of Beowulf.
You're talking
Beer-golf.
Yes.
Yeah, lovely.
Oh,
While we're on the subject of beer, we've had a tweet in from Michael Coffey
That's
And
ironic, isn't it? Michael Coffey sending a beer about...
He's seen the error of his ways.
Thing about...
Nice to see Frank kept mementos from his colourful past. Hashtag whatever happened to. So it is technically in the whatever happened to corner.
Shall I give it a jingle?
Well, whether you think it deserves to go in, Frank, it is a beer can with a scantily clad lady. May, Marie, June, Sylvia, etc. Do you remember these?
I do. I remember them in tasteful swimsuits. Is that have
I would describe
misremembered
these
that
as
well?
negligees.
Don't give me no negligee waves.
Marie has a silk shirt on,
Yeah.
open.
Well, they were tasteful. There was no.
Nudity.
I wouldn't describe them as
There was
tasteful. I would describe the concept of a
No, you know
woman
what I
on a
mean.
beer
But there
can
was
as
there was
tasteful.
there was none of the there was no breast points. Is what I'm saying.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's a
We
big
said it.
barrier. It's a big
We said
barrier
it.
in the glamour photography.
Is it?
Once you get to breast points, it's a whole different world. Yeah, I remember them.
Do you? What
it-
was the beer? I don't remember those beer cans at my parents' dinner parties.
It
was-
Was it?
But I do remember people drinking them.
I think it was Mick something.
Okay,
You know, as
I'm
in
sure they'll
as
tell us.
McKinnon's or something like that, some sort of
Oh, right,
Scottish
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
What's great is the names are all fabulously 70s.
I know.
Heather, Sally, Norma and June.
Well, of course, they were around at the same time as when you bought knots. They used to
Oh,
be
there
on a
was the
card,
reveal.
and they'd steadily reveal a girl in a tasteful swimsuit.
yeah.
And the idea, the actual somebody thought people would buy more knots. That was a fabulous more nudes. More knots because they wanted to see the girl underneath. I'm sure that never happened.
I don't know.
8, 12, 15.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've had various communications about the beer cans with scantily clad ladies on.
Beer can.
Excuse me.
Eggs and beer can.
There's a bit of debate. There's a bit of debate.
Oh.
Chris in Walsall has texted McEwen's Frank, which I thought straight away he's thrown a bullseye there.
Yeah.
I remember it. And then immediately I changed my mind because we've had quite a few texts saying Tennant's Lager.
I think Tennant's probably is right. I think the reason I was thinking of a muck is Tennant's is a Scottish thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. Sorted. Next.
Yeah, dealt with. There's 300 others discussing it.
Oh, you had another
The
theory.
Tennant's Lovelies.
Yeah.
In 1962, the Lager Lovelies graced cans of the famous Scottish lager until 1991.
I didn't think it was that early. 62. Anyway, it's a different world.
Didn't think it was that
It was a
late.
different world.
I think they had completely naked women on Spam, if I remember right.
We've
Different
also
world. We didn't know, you see.
Nah.
756 has texted worst statue JFK on Marylebone Road by Regent's Park
Oh, I've
Crescent.
seen that one.
Haven't seen that one.
Oh, I must check that out because they're yes. I love a terrible statue.
Oh, so do I.
Steve Avet's statue in Brighton.
Oh,
Not
yeah,
very
that's-
flattering of the great man. I
Oh, is it
always
not?
suspected Lord Coe's involvement.
Let it be, Seb, he says.
What about that one of the one of Nelson Mandela in Parliament Square? He's not a bad likeness, but he's got his he looks like a bloke who's washed his hands and can't find a towel. It's just like, you know, you're holding your hands out like slightly away from your suit.
But then there's more pressure on the modern sculptor. I'll explain. For example, the Burghers of Calais. I don't know what they look like.
No.
I'm sure they're nice men, but I couldn't analyse their facial characteristics in the way I can Ronaldo's.
We know what Ronaldo looks
It's a
like.
tougher gig these days.
But Rodin, who did the Burghers of Calais, also did things like Balzac. There are
This is true.
pictures of, so you can check
Yeah.
them
Oh,
out.
they're,
I think he was.
they're very blurry, Frank.
I think we can say Rodin was not bad as a sculptor.
Well, he took his time
Late
about
review.
it, but yeah.
What about
Hashtag late review.
Rodin was a good sculptor.
Not bad.
But you're quite right. With modern ones, you do know what the people look like. I mean, I think my best bit of sculpture. I was at the home of former heavyweight champion of the world, Larry Holmes. Not ideal, you might think. Not ideal Holmes.
Yeah.
It was Larry Holmes, and we were. It's very nice. We were chatting, and he said, "Do you want to come see my statue?"
Oh, I love
And
it
I
when
said-
they say that.
Yeah. Well, it is one of the best questions I've ever been asked by anyone. Which you want to
It means something different.
So we got in his car. We got in his car and he drove me to his statue, which was about half a mile up the road, and we went and had a look at it. And if you want to talk about comparing the likeness, quite handy to have the bloke with you. So we had a bit of a walk round Larry's statue, me and him.
And how was it?
It was good. It was a good likeness. I mean, he was a bit younger in the statue, which was awkward. But
Hey, why haven't they got a statue of you in Birmingham? This is what we need.
no, look, I'm on the Walk of Fame.
Yes,
Let's
you
not
are.
ask too much.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
things you've done for that town.
He's not greedy, though. Not greedy.
I don't think.
We need a statue. It's not a town.
No, it's a city.
Whatever.
Let me point that out.
But I think we need to get a statue for you in Birmingham.
I think that will never happen.
It's funny you say that, though, because if there were a statue of me, what I would want the sculptor to do is give me a really spiky hairstyle that seagulls and pigeons would then avoid. That's what I want for my statue, if
It's a
ever.
wonder, thinking that there's never been a Gary Crowley statue.
Well, Jedward, that's going to be when they get their
But then
statues.
it's the double thing, you know. See how long it took Rodan. If I did
30 years of her trying to get those two done.
if I did a Jedward statue, I'd definitely want them playing leapfrog. I think that sums them up.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We were talking about the new Ronaldo bust.
But not before mentioning the Tommy Cooper statue.
Oh,
in
yes.
Caerphilly. Outside Caerphilly Castle wearing a top hat. It looks like a 7-foot Frankenstein going out to the opera.
But isn't that what Tommy Cooper looked like?
He didn't wear a top hat, especially.
No, he didn't wear a
You
top
know,
hat. No,
famously wore a fez. Why would they put the
Yeah.
wrong hat on?
So is he actually wearing a top hat? It's not just a badly sculpted
Apparently
fez.
so.
That can't be true, can it?
I think there's a famously
Can we
bad...
get someone on that? Can someone Google Tommy plus Cooper plus top plus hat plus
Do
statue?
people still use the plot? Do people still use the plot? I just ask Jeeves.
Do you?
Yeah. Do people, does anyone
I love the idea that you asked Jeeves, where can I get rid of traveller's check?
Yeah. Do people still put in www?
No.
It's like
I just say, Frank?
http.
When I Google, I just put in the names.
Yeah.
For example, if I want to find big bottom footballers, let's say, well, we've said Niall Quinn, Scott Parker.
Right.
I will put in Scott and then just the name Parker. Some people I know, they insist on the little quotation marks every time
do
they
they?
search. Why do they do this?
Time to waste, these people.
No,
You're on
no,
point. You've got stuff
I
to
never
do.
do that.
I know.
We should say that this bust of Ronaldo, the reason it's happening is because they've named an airport after Cristiano Ronaldo.
And Madeira, yes.
Which,
Yeah.
Well, it's Madeira Airport.
I'm not sure I'd want to fly into Cristiano Ronaldo Airport.
No.
Gather round for this.
Okay.
Because you only get a little bit of turbulence and it goes down straight away. Come on! Little bit of turbulence, goes down straight away. Oh, very pleased with
He
that.
feels the need to not just have the jingle, he has to then say hear ye over
I
it.
worry that you are going to have a horrible paranoid nightmare that the second rendition of it got a bigger laugh than the first rendition.
That's okay. Just remember that there
just
is a
wants-
second laugh.
He just wants to laugh.
It's a great honour, though. I mean, there
I thought you were
aren't
going to say it was a
many.
great joke and we're going to do another 10
It's a
minutes
good
on
enough
that.
No, but
joke.
there's John Lennon,
And a
there's
great
George
honour,
Best,
yeah.
John Wayne,
Oh, the airport.
JFK.
And there's Kennedy,
Yeah, there aren't loads.
Skinner.
Skinner roundabout.
I don't think I'll ever get that. The only
I
way
think you will.
The only way I'll ever get an airport named after me is if I change my name by Dean Pole to Stan Stead. Maybe I'll think about that.
You're listening to Frank Skinner's podcast from Absolute Radio.
We've had a lovely picture sent in from Godders. Oh, one of your friends.
Oh, yeah.
John Wayne.
So, yeah, I didn't know he's calling himself that nowadays.
Wow. It's
John Wayne Airport.
His Brummie pals call him that. John Wayne Airport. And he's pointed out don't often see coloured statues outside of churches.
No.
Which is true.
You
And
do
and
abroad.
Godders is pointing that out, though, so I take him seriously.
Actually, abroad, you see painted statues.
Oh, okay. And we've also
North Europe, I would say.
we had a correctionian, didn't we, regarding the Tommy Cooper statue in Cafelli?
Yes, he's wearing a fez, but he's got a top hat in his hand, poised perfectly to extract rabbits from.
That's from Fitch in Birmingham. One of
But
your.
what about when it rains?
It just
Does it fill up?
overflows.
Oh, that's a good point.
I mean, I
Well-
don't think any rabbits are harmed in the making of this statue.
No, I didn't think there was a real rabbit in there drowning.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to make anything that contains water on a statue.
How
do you?
many hats can you be associated with in one lifetime?
Well, I don't associate him with the top hat at all.
Stick with one
No.
hat. If
Yeah,
you had to be
I agree.
associated with a hat, Frank, which one would it be?
Well, I'm not good on hats because I've got a very big head.
Oh, no, you don't look good in them, do you?
No, it's like me and the Elephant Man.
Got to be honest.
I could wear the Elephant Man's hat, but I don't like the Hessian. It irritates my face.
Because I just insulted you, could I give you a small bit of praise
I don't
to make
mind
up
you.
for
I
it?
don't
Which
mind
was,
it.
on that Gordon Ramsay show, you, in that suit, Rat Pack,
Yeah.
saying,
Okay.
Shouldn't wood.
Lovely.
You're on my shouldn't wood.
I enjoyed the nightly show.
Frank just
Can I say
started
that?
itching when I said that.
Change the subject as quickly as I can.
Exactly.
Well,
I've got-
Kathy's one of my dearest friends, so, you know.
She's one of my dearest friends. Now she'll pick me
And
up
me,
on the
why
use of the phrase "one of." Yes.
No, you
am-
look good, so don't worry about the hat thing.
Can I ask you a question about Cristiano Ronaldo?
Yeah, go on.
I've always felt that straight men are pretty rubbish at telling whether a man is attractive or not. And straight women,
Yeah.
I've always think, are pretty rubbish about telling if a woman's attractive.
Oh,
Right.
okay, that's interesting.
Do you think Cristiano Ronaldo is a good-looking man?
No!
Oh.
I'll do that again. No!
But he's so close to being a good-looking man. I can't quite... If you saw an unassembled jigsaw of Cristiano Ronaldo's face, you'd think, well, that is the jigsaw of a very good-looking man. And when you put it together, you think, oh, no, actually.
Yeah.
He's a classic example of what men think are good looking and what mums
Well, I don't
sometimes
know.
are
I
saying
think there's-
he's dishy.
There's
Here's Brosnan.
something
Whoa.
missing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And I really can't work out what it is. Nearly good-looking is
But
what I
then you
like
see
to call
your
him.
David Gandy. He is good looking in a
Yes.
similar way, but I would say most of the women in this room, maybe.
No, he
looking-
is good looking.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's fanciable
Gorge,
as opposed to good looking.
actually.
Ronaldo's,
Calm down, dear.
4.
Ronaldo's girlfriend, very good-looking. Mm-hmm. She was there on the day.
Yeah.
Not really involved, but she's used to that.
The sculptor, he...
I wondered where you were going with that.
She had to make her own arrangements on the day.
She
Yeah.
sort of stood back a bit, didn't she?
Well, there's a question about this, and again...
yeah, but do we want to ask it?
No, I'm not going to
Okay.
ask that. No, not about that. Here's the question. Ronaldo... Now, this might be to do with a personal thing, but I'd like to ask you both this. He wears an earring, Ronaldo. Now, for me, an earring is Birmingham 1982.
Yeah.
You know, when blokes started wearing earrings. And now they look they look naff. I
Well, it's
don't
a bit
mind-
David Essex.
if
Hold me
it's like-
close.
If it's like a weirdo bloke with those big black ones that stretch
Weirdos.
your lobes. You know
I
those...
love those.
Sorry, Frank. Weirdos.
Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you
They
mean.
look like if they wobble their head, they could play table tennis with you.
Yeah.
If it's like that, great. But there's like a bloke in a little earring now, isn't it? Just a bit. It's like having a molly or something.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think
I
he's
agree.
also had a mullet over
I
the
agree.
years.
I think a little gold earring. It's a bit 80s band, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, no, it reminds me of like quite big blokes in Birmingham in the 80s who would have them into. I don't know
I
what.
don't
some
know
leather
what
jackets.
statement you're making with that earring.
It beats me. I think a lot of them went night fishing, and they just used to secure the twine to the earring so they could sleep.
Oh, I thought you
Until
meant...
they got a nice bit of tench.
Nice.
That's my verdict. If you've got an earring at home and you're male, sorry.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
One more thought on Cristiano Ronaldo.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you
Sure.
might have more. Just
Oh, I've got thoughts.
he's rumoured to do 2,000 sit-ups a day.
Is he really?
Yeah, which I think
Wow.
I think 300 of those actually make him stronger, and the rest is just time killing until he can play football again. I think that's...
Well, you know more
that's
about
the-
these things than any of us, of course. How many
But-
sit-ups a day do you do?
None.
Really?
But the sculptor...
Wasn't expecting that. to be honest with
The
you.
sculptor said that Ronaldo didn't really want to change very much of the sculpture. He just asked for them to remove some wrinkles on his eyes because they made him look old, and he wanted it to.
Well, his
look-
brother said that, I believe.
Oh, but he passed
Right.
on the message.
He passed on the
from-
information
from
through the
CR.
brother.
See, I think there was probably about 80 other messages from Ronaldo saying, "Do I really need a shirt on in the statue?
yeah.
Could I not have like my six-pack out?" Like,
But it's a
don't know
bit
if the
ironic
statue
when you've
stops
got a
it.
sculpted torso and then you get a bust done at your airport. He must have been sick. I mean,
Yeah.
he'd have been happier if they'd left the head off
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just done.
Well, that's his brand, the torso, isn't it?
yeah.
Well, they could have extended the neck into the number 1 runway.
Oh, do you know? You're wasted.
Well, I haven't been wasted since 1986.
It's a while.
I know.
In other football news, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, friend
Yes.
of the show, I
Yeah,
think.
he is, I think.
Oh, he is.
No,
So-
he's a man with a thick neck, small head.
Long,
Yeah.
long neck, tiny
He's a
head.
man who's got
Lovely bun.
He's basically got hair on the top of his neck. And
He's a-
what he's done is he's drawn a face on his
Yeah.
neck just above his
He looks
Adam's
like
apple.
a Pez dispenser, doesn't he?
He does. I think I said it before. He looks like a ballpoint pen. It's got that.
Oh, I'd
I
love-
mean, he is, but he's a fantastic footballer. has
Very
to be
good.
said.
And character.
Well,
Yes, and character.
Oh,
he crosses over into my Venn diagram at this point because he's launched a fragrance. Not his
Yeah.
Oh,
first
who
time
hasn't?
at the fragrance rodeo, may I say.
Oh, he's launched previous fragrances.
He had
hasn't
Zlatan.
he? Yes.
They had a think tank, got together, came up with some ideas. They
I
came up
like
with Zlatan. Now he's launched Supreme. Supreme is a unisex fragrance.
oh, is it?
Yes, I believe so, because all the fashionable fragrances are now.
Are they
I believe,
really?
I can talk for fragrance on ours. Millennials don't define themselves by gender-specific scents.
No, that's true.
So there you go. But that's very... It's like, remember back in the day, Frank, the CK1
Yes.
for men and women.
I don't know what they put on a beer can nowadays. I think I think it's multiple choice.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Text the show, please, on 8 12 15. We'd love to hear from you. Follow the show on Twitter, at Frank on the Radio. We'd love to hear from you. Email the show via the Absolute Radio website. Go on, be traditional. We don't care.
We've actually just had a missive in that I'd
Yes.
like to bring to your attention.
I think you should. Is that from Paul Howarth and
What
Milton
you
Keynes?
talking about?
No,
Liz?
it's from Prisoner 983 by email.
I believe that is Paul Howarth and
Oh,
Milton
is it?
Keynes.
Hi, Frank, Divine Miss M and the Cockerel. Last week's discussion of songs with parentheses in the title failed to mention perhaps the finest example of the trend. 3 Lions, brackets, football's coming home. Close
Come
brackets.
on.
God, you know what? That never occurred to me.
Was this intentional, or maybe I have my facts wrong? Some gittish nitpicking from a praise redacted of the show. He's a fan.
So, Frank Skinner, discuss.
I didn't know it had footballs coming out in brackets.
Really?
Yeah.
If David Baddiel is listening, then...
He must have written the brackets.
Well, I think he did all that stuff. The bracket. He dealt with brackets as well,
Well, he's done a show about his parentheses.
Very good.
which we saw this week. Very
yeah.
fine work, can I just say? Go and see it.
Yes, indeed. We recommend that on this show.
Yeah.
My Family, the sitcoms, everybody.
My Family, not the sitcom.
Not the sitcom.
That's the whole point, not the sitcom.
Oh, sorry. In fact, is it his
Don't
family?
ruin his
Is it someone
gags.
else? No, exactly. Yeah. It's at the. Was it the Comedy Theatre?
It's at the Playhouse.
And yes, this is one of the best plots.
Terrible.
And I spat a bit of apple on the desk as well, right next to where
My
someone had
Family-
drawn a man's organ.
Not the
That's the kind of
sitcom.
party
Oh, my
they had
goodness.
last night.
My Family, not the sitcom at the Playhouse Theatre.
Yes.
Dee Baddiel. Marvellous. 5 stars.
But
Frank
yes,
Skinner, Emily Dean.
what was the question?
The question was about 3 Lions footballs
Oh
coming
yeah,
home.
I didn't know. I'd forgotten. I think of it as 3 Lions. I never think of it as 3 Lions. Open brackets, football's coming home, close brackets. But it's worth knowing.
Well, I think that Ian...
Anything else about me? Anyone wants to text in? I might not know.
They slipped
That's
it
a
in.
dangerous
David
thing. What if my
and-
doctor texts in?
Do you think David and that lightning seeds just got together and slipped it in without you realising?
Well, I was not drinking in those days, so I don't think that
Okay.
could have happened.
Okay. Anyway, we were talking about Zlatan
ZI?
and his unisex fragrance, Supreme. Now, the one Please stop me if I'm becoming a fragrance bore. But the one a few years ago was a bit more urban.
Was it a few
I would
years ago? I
describe it
thought
as
they were
maybe-
being mutually released, these two.
No. He did
Oh,
another
really?
one, I would say, 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Feel free to text in if I'm incorrect, but I won't be. This one, has slightly peppery notes.
Other?
Really?
I don't mind that.
Is it Mandarin?
Is it full of peppery goodness and very good to eat?
No.
Is there
Okay.
any bergamot? Is it
Not burger or peppery. You're making them sound like fast food.
Is it bergamot? How do you
Yeah,
say
bergamot.
it? Oh, you say
think-
bergamot.
He said he was
Have you ever
I've
smelled the
never-
bergamot of Calais? It's particularly nice.
extraordinary joke, which I love.
Yeah.
He,
You don't get many Rodan burgers of Calais jokes, I find. Not on commercial radio. The BBC's heavy with them.
he said, the Now Show, he said he was inspired by an experience he had during a holiday in Mexico.
Well, we all were, dear.
Yeah.
I was once having breakfast at, I think we were at Cancun, my partner and I.
Thanks for the tip.
And the entire table collapsed with everything on it. Absolutely. We were just sitting there and the table was at our side on the floor, flat, with everything scattered everywhere.
And did that inspire you to launch a fragrance? Because that's the sort of thing that happens to Zlatan. He has a holiday and then he thinks, I'm going to launch a fragrance.
No, I think I launched a cry for help.
He's also, there's a Zlatan deodorant.
Oh, that sounds easier to...
What's that called?
That's still called Supreme.
Oh, okay.
And a body lotion.
Supreme?
Yeah.
Guessed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish he'd have come up with something a bit more. I mean, I know he thinks of himself as Supreme, but something a bit more Zlatan, a bit along the lines of it's all about a ball.
Yeah.
It's something a bit football-y, a bit
Right.
striker.
Oh, you can't have a fragrance called Striker, Frank. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Smell like a miner from the 80s.
Oh, glory days.
The Frank Skinner Show. Listen live every Saturday morning from 8 on Absolute Radio.
We've had a text in from David Baddiel.
Oh, yes.
Well, he didn't text the show. He texted me personally, I
Okay.
should say.
Should we read out our personal texts?
Well, I think in this case he's clearing up some information that we need
A or B?
clearing up regarding...
Any other business?
Yeah.
Is he about the women on beer cans?
No.
Yeah, he would be our go-to source for that kind of
I'm
chat.
surprised he hasn't called earlier.
I wouldn't ask David
He's got a
about
collection
that.
of over 200.
He hasn't. No, that's old Keith you're mixing up with, all the men in your life.
Yeah.
He says, I think the bracket edition of FCH, which is obviously football coming home, is that
Yeah.
what you guys called it?
Never.
Oh, okay.
Never heard it called that before.
Hey, Frank, few thoughts on FCH.
Okay.
Was something the record company did. I think we just called it Three Lions. Sorry, wrong emphasis. I think we just called it Three Lions.
Oh, yeah.
I think Sony heard the chant at Wembley and added it as a bit of branding.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
That makes sense.
I suppose people might go into the shop and say, have you got that Football's Coming Home song? And they say, no. The only football songs we got Three Lions, and they've said, no, forget it.
Yeah,
I come in here for a song, not a menagerie.
you're right.
Yeah, they might have said, they probably wouldn't have said that, but I'd like it if they had. Oh, there you go.
I know.
I'm still scratching. I should have washed this T-shirt before I
think
wore
so.
it. I mean, it's
You scratch a lot.
do
Yeah.
Yeah.
I? Oh. Sorry.
We've had a... I admire the petulance of this text. It's from Neil in Penge. Good morning, all. It's been a while. Loving the show. Missed you guys. Anyway, did I hear Ms. Dean mention some graffiti earlier? I wonder if you might, albeit I suspect they are not a listener, give a big shout out and thank you to Spears, the illiterate moron, for tagging my shed. It's very good of them to fit me into their very busy schedule.
Oh dear.
So that's somebody who's obviously had shed spray painted with Spears.
But if it's an illiterate moron, how does he know their name?
Because it's written on his shed,
Yeah, but
SPWRZ.
if it's an illiterate moron, is that reliable?
And
Good
quite
point.
80s calling someone a moron as well.
I think illiterate, that's gone as well now. God,
Has it?
everything's
Can't do
gone.
that.
Gender. Literacy. Blimey.
Literacy
I
has
feel
essentially
it's
gone.
Whatever happened
ladies.
to-
It's the ladies I feel sorry for. They've strived for years for equality, just coming up on the outside layer with abandoned gender as a concept. Oh, so close, but no cigar. Obviously, they can have a cigar if they want one. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Except it's very bad for you.
I'm bringing out a new fragrance called Has Been.
Oh,
It makes you smell like you used to be special.
oh, that's
What do you
a
think?
shame.
Oh, you still are very special to us.
And my other one, New Git from Laundry. It upsets people in a completely completely justifiable way. I think.
New kit.
Git, yeah.
Oh,
You know,
git.
Frank,
Yeah.
Zlatan said something about his fragrance. He said, okay, I'm going to do an accent. It's okay?
You can do that accent,
Okay.
I think.
He said,
Swedish. Do you do
okay.
Swedish?
Oh, yeah. I know, I just do one accent.
Okay.
And then it doesn't offend anyone. He says, okay, maybe I don't have that thing that mine's the best. Don't say that when you're launching a product.
Doesn't sound like
It's
him.
the first time Zlatan's
Okay.
ever said that about anything.
Maybe I don't have the thing that mine's the best. Extraordinary.
Did he say I just dab a little bit behind my ears, or I would if that area wasn't occupied by my neck?
Well, the nose, Frank, who created it, who's called Olivier Pécheux,
Oh, yeah.
Bless
he
you.
also...
It should be. The nose should be called Olivier, bless you. I mean, it really should. What an opportunity
Wow.
missed.
He's famously was the nose... I don't know if he was the nose at Dior, but he created a Dior fragrance.
We should say, in case you don't know, a nose is a person employed by a parfumier.
Yeah.
They've got very, very sensitive noses, so they're very good in the scent business.
Yeah. And they're responsible for coming up with fragrances. And he did a Comme des Garçons perfume, and he also created a fragrance called Legend.
Did he really?
Legend.
And I thought that could be one
Was
for
that
Alan Cochrane.
Frank Skinner.
Was that for
Legend.
John Legend?
No,
It's for John Legend.
he's missed a trick.
When John Legend is 60, well, Absolute have a special weekend where they rename one of the stations Absolute Legend. No. I've, as you know, I have many friends in the S&M community, and you know,
Oh, fine.
I find after a good hiding, you can pong a bit, and I've invented a new fragrance. I'm calling it After Slave.
Oh, my God.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've had a perfume text, actually, and, you know, sometimes we have a sort of a public service section
Yes,
of the show.
we do.
I think Emily may well be able to answer this.
Go on.
Peter has texted, "Hi all."
Not Peter Patel from the Econo Lodge, Louisville, Kentucky.
I don't think so, but I love the fact you took his name and you've remembered it.
No, his name was on they're doing America, they have a sign up with their name
Oh.
on the wall.
Oh, I see.
So I could go in and say, Peter, you haven't... I like that. If ever anyone wears a name badge, I almost always use the name.
Yeah.
Good for you. I think we all should be wearing name badges. It'd
I
be
do.
so much easier.
Name and profession, that's what I should have.
That'd be good,
It
wouldn't it?
would be so much easier.
That's a good idea. Should we just all start doing it?
I think it'd be
We
great.
could start it.
Okay.
Hi all. If the nose
It
creates...
saved a lot of confusion with that young chap I gave the spare room to in 1998. Anyway, carry on.
Hi all. If the nose creates the perfume, how does the parfumier spend his or her days?
Okay.
Well, I'm glad you've asked me that.
Extraordinary decision to answer that question. Oh, my voice cracked with the shock. Frank, would you like to answer?
Well, the parfumier, I'm imagining, is the engine room, who then puts the whole thing together after the nose has given his rather sniffy instructions.
Oh,
I
you do you?
What do you
me to
think?
guess? Do you want me to guess?
Yeah.
I reckon they do about an hour of emails and then 2,000 sit-ups a day. That's what I
Okay.
reckon, just to kill time.
I'm hoping that a parfumier fits into the same Venn diagram as the chocolatier, who I've always been very keen on. Yes.
Oh, they've got... I always imagine them in a glove, in a white glove, the chocolatier.
The chocolatier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always imagine they've got chocolate ears.
Can I throw my 2 travellers' checks worth in?
Yeah,
Go on,
what do they do?
I think the perfumier is exactly the same as the nose.
Oh, well, what's the point then?
Le nez, as he's
Le-
called in France.
That'd be Nasa, isn't it?
I think
Oh, no,
it's
it's
Le
German.
Nez. No.
German, because Rosa Nasa.
It's essentially a name for someone who is in charge of the olfactory composition. Thank you.
I've just had an idea
Tonight.
actually for my own scent
Have you?
brand. Yeah. I'm going to do a his and hers one, and the girls' one is going to be called My Perfume. Because when people go, "What's that? What's that smell?" My perfume.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And the blokes' one is going to be called My Aftershave.
The trouble is,
I think that's a really good idea, and I think it would appeal to the millennials. They like an idea.
well,
Like a
It's too
funny,
simple.
quirky
The trouble
idea.
It's too
is-
simple.
my aftershave is a bit reminiscent of my mum's cola. Do you remember the My Mum's brand?
Well,
It was the nastiest stuff you could get. My Mum's
I hope they're not still
margarine.
going.
Well, but
No.
how can I say this without offending you? I can't. So
Okay.
the fact is, it's going to be cheap.
What?
Because my mum's cola was cheap. Make my aftershave cheap, and I think that would work well.
Oh no, I was going to make it really expensive
Okay.
and try and make some real money. Yeah? That was my plan.
What about...
Hang on, I'm just crossing out my
I'm
plan.
very
Sorry.
big in the nose world, so I can get you some. I've got
Doesn't
some
look that
contacts.
big from over here.
I've got good contacts, Al.
The idea of bringing out a fragrance, I think then you've reached the bottom.
Do you think so?
I'm very
Why?
happy
I'm
with
not gonna
people
bring out a fragrance for that.
because what am I getting from Zlatan Ibrahimovic when I buy his fragrance?
It's all gone very.
His
That's right.
personality is in every drop, he says.
I think they're ghost smelt fragrances.
Oh, I see.
I don't think they have any input, do they? They're not going. Little bit of
I'd
cardamom.
buy Brutally by Frank.
Brutally.
Yeah, Brutally, comma
Frankly.
Frank.
Bruce Lee. That never sell. Bruce Lee by the new Frank Skinner fragrance. This was too many concepts.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I need to ask you if I'm irrational here. I had an experience this week. I was in a minicab.
I like it so far.
Yeah,
you
it's
weren't
all
going
right.
to the nightly show, were you?
I wasn't going to the nightly show.
Also, quite 70s to be in a minicab.
It was a minicab.
Okay.
And,
Still lots of mini.
Well, it's just the fact that it's not called minicab anymore, but that's what I like.
well, I like to differentiate between, people get angry if you say Uber, people get
You're
angry
right,
if you say
Al.
taxi, so it was a minicab. But I was in the front seat next to the driver, obviously gear stick in between. And the gentleman in question was wearing a leather jacket, right?
Okay.
It wasn't that cold outside, but he was wearing a leather jacket that I
Blouson?
think was... Yes.
Okay.
I think it was brand new, because every single movement that man made, I heard.
Oh, really?
I mean, literally...
Creep. Wow.
I mean, I started rerouting us so that he didn't have to indicate, just because I was thinking there's going to be a cacophony here, and I was so annoyed by it. I honestly think if the journey had been a mile longer, there would have been a point where I'd have shouted, "How can you live like this?" Because he could have worn that, like he should have worn it around the house, like I used
It's
to with
a bit
new
like my
football
t-shirt.
boots. Your
Why did
t-shirt's itching you.
I know. I wouldn't think of having to break in a jacket.
Oh, well,
no.
it really needed breaking in, though. I mean, we
Could you
used to
smell
take
the leather
studs-
on it?
I couldn't smell it. Maybe he's had it for 10 years and it just still squeaks. But
Maybe it's tarpaulin.
it's
I
pleather.
find
Why
that
do
that can
people
be
wear
inflexible.
noisy clothes? I mean, I had a pair of shoes, slides.
Slides. What does
They're
that
called
mean?
slides.
Ah.
I'll show you some pictures afterwards. Think of a...
No, you're all right.
Okay, can I go wedge flip-flop? Would that help?
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
so
I
it's
know what those are.
slightly... They're like pool slides. Do you know those, Frank? I have to say England supporters did wear them once in the day.
Pool slides, as in what people slide into a pool. Karen?
As in what they were around the pool side.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't go
Okay.
poolside that often.
Okay. Anyway.
Are they essentially, rather than fashion, they're an anti-verruca measure?
No, they're now fashion.
Oh,
they have a
okay.
thick band and a sole. Anyway, the point is, I can't remember the point now.
Are they noisy?
No, they were so noisy, Al. I wore them once and I thought, I can't live with these. Straight in the bin. They weren't expensive.
Whoa, I'm sorry for anyone listening who can't afford shoes.
Frank, they were about £19. They weren't hideously expensive.
Again, I'm sorry for anyone. There's people at home saying £19 for a pair of shoes.
they
They
were
saw you coming.
Straight in the bin.
They were noisy.
Yes, I know.
And I
but-
found it humiliating walking down the road in noisy shoes.
Yeah.
I know, but that wouldn't have bothered someone in the third world.
Frank,
It
you
would
made
have-
me feel really bad.
I know. I suppose it's too late to reclaim them.
They're in a bin somewhere.
Probably being
Long gone.
worn by a seagull. Taken straight off the tip. Oh, they love the tip, the seagulls.
They do.
I don't know what they should be called, tip gulls. If they've got an
Yeah.
option between the sea,
Gulls.
if there's an option between going to the sea or going to the tip, they'd choose the tip every time.
Absolutely. In fact, they're a way of spotting that there is a tip, aren't they? If you're
They
driving
are.
along and you see loads of birds fly, you go, oh, that's
You
a
see
tip.
the gulls.
They
There's a
are.
tip
They are.
over
They're
there.
tip
Ow.
indicators.
You know what I love? I love an urban seagull. They know what they're doing. A little bit trendier, a little bit
I
cooler.
don't understand it. You see them in London, and I
Yeah.
think, why are you here?
There's no tip or sea round
Yeah.
here.
I mean, the chance of being
Why
lovely
are
by
you
the
here? I'm like Nigel
seaside.
Farage.
Yeah, get them back where they belong.
The Frank Skinner Show. Listen live every Saturday morning from 8 on Absolute Radio.
I was discussing this minicab driver with his noisy...
These Lederjacke, as I believe they call them in Germany.
Did they? Mm-hmm. Noisy jackets. And there's a bit of me that thinks, how can you be surprised by that? He didn't seem bothered by it, but he must know that he's going to sit in the same seat and squeak all day and he's going to move his steering wheel. He must know that that's going to... Like, I can understand it if his job was painting himself silver and then standing in Covent Garden. Like, you could do that with a squeaky jacket on and you'd only really notice it during lunch breaks.
Good point.
Yeah. But he does it even though he's going to move all day and sitting against a leather seat, squeaky, squeaky, squeaky.
Why do you have the jacket on?
He hadn't got a beaded seat cover.
No, a beaded seat
What
cover.
kind of a mini cab driver was he?
Please
I don't know
tell
what
me
kind
he
of
had,
character we were dealing with here.
Please tell me there was some sort of golden tissue box.
Didn't see that either.
And a magic tree air
This
freshener.
guy's throwing
Yeah.
the rule book out.
What is the nature of the magic in a magic tree?
8, 12, 15.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I met Dynamo the other week. I think there's a
I was
man.
present.
There's a man who could describe himself, you know, with the adjective magic. But
Yeah.
the magic tree, just it's sort of pine, largely pine.
I would say it's more accurate to call it a slightly helpful tree.
Yeah.
It's helpful. It gets rid of odours.
Perhaps it's magic in the old sort of Selwyn Froggatt term.
Yes.
Magic. Anyway,
Should just call itself a tiny smelly tree.
the smelly tree.
Not
is,
as marketable.
No one's going to buy that.
Fair enough. I'll cross that off my business plan list as
No one
well.
will buy that terrible
Next to
thing.
my perfume and my aftershave. Gone.
641 has been in touch.
Is this the Twitterati or is it text?
No, this is text. They're not called tips anymore. You know, you were talking about they should be called tip gulls.
Cancel tips, yeah.
They're not called tips anymore.
Yeah?
They are called resource recovery
Or is this
centres.
the bit when I was talking about breast tips? So the confusion
don't
here.
think
No, it's
so.
when you were talking about seagulls.
Okay.
liking
I've never
the tip.
seen a seagull on a breast tip.
No.
And I hope I never do.
So
Me
they're
too.
called RRCs, resource recovery centres.
Seagull on a breast tip, I know. It's lactation.
Oh.
Sorry, everyone. Oh, come on, it's natural.
Sorry, Ken.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I'm up to speed now with Broadchurch. You know, having watched Series 2 and Series 1 last year.
All right.
I'm
now
now-
Are you
it's
on
a-
series 3? I don't like you being up to speed. It
I know,
really makes me feel the world has ended.
It's a big wait for the next one. A whole week.
Yes.
Also, can you imagine how embarrassing it is for me if you're ahead with the series and I haven't seen it?
Yeah, but I'd never do a spoiler. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Just trust me, baby.
Creepy moment.
So glad that's never been said to me.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. We
And
needed
I've
something
never
for
said
the,
it. I felt there were no point.
We needed a clip for the creepy montage for the show, didn't we? So there we go. That's
Yes,
That's
I
sorted,
think we
Daisy.
are doing creepy special. I think Halloween. So mark that. Mark that. Trust me, baby.
Stop saying baby.
weird, isn't it?
I'd love to do a creepy special for that. We don't do much for Halloween, do we?
Yeah, but when we say creepy, Frank, it's not just you calling people baby incessantly.
Ooh, baby.
Oh,
Welcome to the creepy special. ooh. You like that, huh? Yes, that's enough, I think. Of
yeah, I think that is
yes, it's made me feel a bit like I need a wash.
This is like cat feels.
Yeah. Anything else from the outside world? I'm always keen to hear from them. They're such nice people. Can I say, by the way, the man whose shed was graffitied on, he called back and said, "No, I've been graffitied on and mocked." I hope we didn't mock him. I thank him for joining in. I am anti-graffiti on personal property, and I hope...
Yeah.
I hope some people on a community...
buildings, it's fine.
I hope some community programme people come round and get that off for you.
Yeah.
Maybe is Boy George still on it, or is he... He's off now. Okay. I like the idea that he's still... He's doing great. God
On the
bless him.
voice and things.
Imagine if Boy George come round to take the graffiti off your shed.
I just got really into scrubbing graffiti off when I did my community service.
like it.
I'm just into it. Why not?
Yeah.
Simon Oliver on a tractor in Essex has texted, "Hey guys, do you remember an aftershave in the late 80s called Turbo? What a name. Presumably exhaust gas-powered force induction didn't quite have the same ring to it."
Yeah, true, but it's got an urban feel.
Oh, I love it. Urban seagulls will be liking it.
Ooh, carbon monoxide. Okay, so anyway, look, enough of this tomfoolery, if you can still say that in the age of... It's a bit now, tomboy foolery. Any good to you? Tim, Tabitha foolery. Oh, foolery, just foolery. No, Z foolery. I'm told if now instead of he or she, you're supposed to say Z.
Is that correct?
Who told you that?
Jonathan Ross told me that.
Oh.
Did he?
Remember her? Anyway, bring on the flowers.
The Frank Skinner Show on Absolute Radio. Back Saturday morning from 8. Tune in live for the full Frank experience.
Absolute Radio.